Hi, I'm Katie for RustiKate and RustiKate DIY, and today we're going to be doing a project with this coffee table. So this is our coffee table in the living room, and we really love it. It actually has a pivot on it so it can pivot up into kind of a desk or a dining area. And it's very functional, but it's also very hard, and so we've had it for a couple years now. And my husband would really like to have something that's soft, potentially an Ottoman, but we don't want to get rid of the coffee table, and we kind of don't want to store it in the basement because we're afraid it'll get ruined. So I'm going to surprise him for his birthday, and we're going to upcycle this without damaging it. So we'll make it so that you can actually use it as an Ottoman. We're going to make a cover for it, a padded cover, but we can also take that padded cover off and go back to this coffee table without any damage, and it should be a pretty easy change. Helping me out with this project is Sarah of Dan and Sarah Makers, and she is an awesome seamstress. So here's a rough sketch of what Sarah and I are going to be working on today for the cover to transform the coffee table into an Ottoman. And the dimensions that we're going to be working with is going to be 45 and 3/16 across the top, and then this direction, the width, we're going to do 28 and 1/4. Once we add 3 inches of fabric to each side to compensate for how deep that foam is going to be, our new total is going to be 52 inches and 3/16. And then this direction is going to be 35 and 1/4. So when you buy your fabric, you should be able to get it a width that's wide enough that you won't have to really worry about any extra calculations. For us, we're using a vinyl that we got secondhand, and so ours is not wide enough. Ours is only 25 inches wide. So we're going to make some adaptations as we go, and we'll show you that as it unfolds. We're going to probably end up doing a center seam. But for you, you should be able to just take these measurements and cut them out of your fabric. We're then going to cut 2 strips. The strips are going to be 6 inches wide by 28 and 1/4 long, and then 2 more at 6 inches wide and 45 and 3/16 inches long. And what that's going to be is we're going to add those together, we're going to stitch them, and they'll be the side seams that will allow us to wrap it around the side of our coffee table. Okay, now that we have all our dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and cut the pieces out. And like I said earlier, the fabric that we have is actually 25 inches across, and so it's not actually going to be wide enough for our project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut out 2 and then 2 lengths. I'll cut out 2 lengths, and then after we stitch it together, we'll go ahead and cut that width. And it'll make more sense once it comes together. You'll see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure out the 52 and 3/16 inches lengthwise. Okay, so there's the first one. I set that one aside, and then we'll cut our second piece. So we now have our two pieces that are going to come together to be the top of our ottoman. And again, if your fabric is wide enough, you'll only cut one piece. Now I'm ready to measure and cut out the pieces that are going to be the strips that go along the side of the table. At this point, I'm going to be cutting two that are going to be 7 inches wide and 45 and 3/16 inches long. I'm going to measure it and cut it out along the finished edge, or the salvage edge. So I just measured the 45 and 3/16. Now I'm going to measure 7 inches and mark it. And then I'll go ahead and measure another 7 and mark it. And then I'm going to actually slide this to the side of the table to give myself a straight line to cut on. You can also use a yardstick. Okay, now we have our two side strips cut. I'm going to go ahead and measure and cut the shorter sides. For these ones, we want 7 inches wide by 28 and 1/4 inch long, and we're going to cut out 2 of those. So I'm measuring the 28 and 1/4 first. Measure the 7. I'm going to again put it on the edge of the table as a straight line. This is my dog DJ. If you heard barking earlier, that was her. Okay, we're just going to cut one more, same as this. Okay, so we have our pieces cut out. We have the central piece right here. For us, again, we have 2 pieces, but typically you would only need 1. And then we have 2 cut out that are going to go on the ends of the table, both ends. And then 2 cut out that are going to go on the long side of each side of the table. Alright, at this point I'm going to get all of the pieces together. I'm going to hand it off to Sarah, and Sarah's going to do the sewing.